In 2018, 21 Pilots launched the Trench era with the release of two singles off of that album, Jumpsuit and Nico and the Niners. The same day, they also released a music video for Jumpsuit, which was the first of three lore-filled videos, which would later become known as the Trench Trilogy. The Jumpsuit video was essentially the official introduction to the world of Trench and Dima, although that world was hinted at before this, and looking back we can see that it underpinned much of what came before. In the video, Clancy wakes up in the middle of Trench, having made it outside the walls of Dima. As he wanders through the wild and rocky landscape, he looks up at the cliffs towering above him. A silent crowd of banditos are watching him as he journeys through the valley below. But then, in the distance, coming towards him from the city which he just left, is the sound of thundering hooves as a bishop tracks him down. In a later video, Clancy identifies this bishop as Nico, or Blurryface. Nico dismounts and smears Tyler before taking him back to Dima. Now, obviously, it goes without saying that this video holds a good deal of lore-related imagery and story within it, which served to introduce us to this world at that time, but is also a good reference point for looking back and learning more about it even now. For instance, it demonstrates the intensity with which the bishops track down each individual who attempts to escape. It also shows us what smearing is in practice, and explains where that black paint on Tyler's neck and hands came from, which was first introduced during the Blurryface era. We see the yellow petals as they fall down, cast by the banditos from above, and distract the bishop. But, and perhaps most interestingly, we also see another version of Clancy. This version is not smeared, and his head is shaved. He also appears to be operating in a different moment in time to the main Clancy, if you will, speaking to him from the morning after the events of Heavydirtysoul. In an interesting parallel to the Paladin Straight music video, this video continues to cut to him throughout the song, and it is as if he has knowledge of what is taking place. My initial explanation for this related to the fact that Clancy explains the events of this video from a third person in one of his letters. My thinking was that perhaps this was that version of Clancy, watching these events take place from afar. But too many details didn't align. For instance, there is no mention of car made anywhere throughout Clancy's letters, and there also is no way that road could be near enough to where Nico is smearing Clancy for this other version of Clancy, the car version of Clancy, to see what is taking place. The letter also describes that Journal Clancy watched this take place from a much closer distance. So, essentially, we have three different versions of Clancy at play here. Clancy in the valley, captured and smeared. Clancy in the journal, in hiding, watching and describing. And Clancy by the car, who has just escaped, but somehow seems to have knowledge of what is going on. If we accept the mainstream narrative surrounding Clancy at the moment, and lean into the theory that he has been journeying through cycle after cycle, there are several things which still don't make sense. Let us assume that Car Clancy is about to travel through Trench. He has therefore experienced the events which Main Clancy is currently going through, and fears and anticipates that he is about to go through them again. This would explain his location and his knowledge. However, we are still left with Journal Clancy, who is supposed to be much closer to Main Clancy, sitting in hiding, and experiencing and watching these events take place as if for the first time, not remembering or expecting. In other words, we seem to have an account here, in the journal, of a past Clancy witnessing a future Clancy. This must be the case, or else Clancy is either lying in his journal or in the video. That first Clancy we see is also interesting for a number of reasons. For instance, he is described as the most recent version of Clancy, the current version, in the I Am Clancy video. He also does not appear to be smeared. But what if this version we see here is not the same one who performs in Scaled and Icy, and who we see escape and return in Clancy? What if instead he is the same Clancy who stands on the cliffs of the Paladin Strait while his former self confronts Nico in the tower? I'll leave it at that for now, but be sure to let me know in the comments what you think of these theories. And don't forget to subscribe for more music, commentary, and reviews.